Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International.
Authorities from the Indian National Capital Territory of Delhi say that a local woman has been arrested and charged this week after she allegedly faked her own kidnapping in a misguided attempt to get money to pay off debts. According to reports, the incident began on May 25th when a man and a woman arrived at a police station in the neighborhood of Marauli and told officers that their daughter had been kidnapped. They said that the daughter had disappeared the day before and since then had received a number of disturbing calls and messages through her WhatsApp account from a person identifying themselves as her kidnapper. Most chilling of all was a picture that the supposed kidnapper had sent showing the couple's daughter with her hands tied and her mouth covered with a piece of cloth. The kidnapper repeatedly demanded money for the woman's release, which they said could be taken to the city of Agra. After being shown the evidence, police launched an investigation, beginning with CCTV video footage taken from the house where the woman and her parents lived. This showed that the woman had left the house at 4 p.m. the previous day, though did not offer any clues about how she was abducted or who might have taken her. Luckily, it didn't take long for police to get their next big break when they were able to trace the missing woman's cell phone to a specific region of Agra. Upon tracing the call, they conducted a thorough search of the area, paying special attention to hotels, as it was believed this would be a natural place for kidnappers to try and hide a woman. After searching roughly 50 hotels, police finally found the woman. Unfortunately, she was far from relieved or grateful, as it turned out she had never actually been abducted. Upon further questioning, the woman admitted that she had faked her kidnapping and was trying to extort her own family for money in order to pay off debts she had. She said that she had staged the photo that she had sent her parents and had used a voice-changing application during the WhatsApp phone calls in order to pose as the kidnapper and disguise her voice. After giving her confession, the woman was arrested, and police say she is now facing charges for extortion. At the time of this recording, the woman's identity has not been released, and authorities say that more charges against her could follow pending further investigation.
Authorities in China's Heilongjiang province say that a man searching for internet fame recently found himself in serious legal trouble instead, after he pretended to have committed a murder in order to drive viewers to his account. According to reports, the situation took place recently in the city of HARBIN, when a local taxi driver rushed to tell police about a terrifying incident he had just witnessed. A deranged man had cut him off in the middle of the street, confronting him with a shovel and telling him that he was a murderer. He said that he had just killed someone and threatened the taxi driver, saying that he would do the same to him if he wouldn't help him cover up the crime. Understandably disturbed by the taxi driver's statements, police searched the area where he had had the strange encounter, and they soon found the person that they were looking for. He was later identified as a man by the last name of Bao. Upon being questioned by police, Bao told police that he had walked out into the middle of the street with a shovel and stopped the taxi driver's vehicle. He also admitted that he had threatened him and told him that he had just committed a murder. However, according to Bao, it was all a misunderstanding. See, he was actually a live streamer, and the whole thing had actually been a fake stunt. Bao said that he didn't have a lot of viewers or followers, but that he hoped that his bizarre behavior would attract some more attention to his account. He claimed that he realized that he had gone too far when the taxi driver fled in fear, and after that, he had ended his live stream. According to reports, Bao was subsequently arrested for his weird and reckless stunt. It's unclear what penalty he actually faced though, as reports we came across simply state that he was, quote, punished and fined according to the law. In the end, it seems that Bao did receive a fair amount of attention from other internet users in China, although likely not the kind that he had imagined. According to local media, upon learning about his stunt, most people chimed in to express how stupid and dangerous they thought the whole thing was.
The family of a murder victim is calling for tougher measures against her convicted killer this week after he escaped from prison for the second time. According to reports, 39-year-old Darren Pilkington escaped from the HMP Kirkham in the English County of Lancashire sometime on May 25th. The facility is what's known as an open prison, a type of prison where inmates are trusted to complete sentences with minimal supervision and security and often not locked up in cells. Though Pilkington was recaptured several days later without incident, the fact that this is not the first time he has escaped from prison has led to renewed calls from many who say that he should be permanently moved to a more secure facility. Perhaps the strongest supporters of this idea are the family of 19-year-old Carly Fairhurst, one of two people Pilkington has been convicted of killing during his long criminal career. Pilkington was convicted of manslaughter in 2006 after he pushed Fairhurst down the stairs during an argument at a residence in the town of Wigan. Pilkington's first conviction came in 2001 at the age of just 15, when he was found guilty in connection with the beating death of a 30-year-old man outside of a pub. According to reports, following Pilkington's 2006 manslaughter conviction, he was released from prison 4 times. However, on each occasion he violated the terms of his release and was taken back to prison. In a statement after Pilkington's escape this week, Carly Fairhurst's father spoke of his anguish and frustration at the continued lenience that was being extended to the 39-year-old despite his pattern of escapes and his continued failure to meet the basic requirements of his release. In the same statement, he said that the only way forward is for Pilkington to be moved to a more secure facility, otherwise he will remain a danger to society. Though Pilkington has been charged with escaping from custody following his recapture this week, so far it appears that officials have remained silent on what, if any, additional penalties he could be facing. The situation is still developing.
Authorities in the Australian state of Queensland say that they have arrested 2 30-year-old men this week after a 25-year-old woman was shot in the head and killed during an alleged altercation at a suburban residence. According to reports, the incident began sometime after 9 a.m. on the morning of May 27th, when 25-year-old Phoebe McIntosh was dumped outside of a hospital in the town of Caloundra, on Queensland's Sunshine Coast. Hospital staff soon discovered that she was in critical condition and was suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. Despite their best efforts to save Phoebe's life, sadly, she died from her injuries a short time later. In the meantime, investigators were able to track down the vehicle that they believed had been used to drop Phoebe at the hospital. It was allegedly being driven by a 58-year-old man at the time who was apparently known to her. The man was able to point police in the direction of a residence in the suburb of Dickey Beach, which was where the shooting unfolded. Though many details of the case currently remain a mystery, investigators say that on the morning of the shooting, Phoebe was visiting the owner of the Dickey Beach property, a woman who has not been identified by name. Based on information provided by the woman, authorities were led to 2 30-year-old male suspects, who have since been identified as Bradley Ian Cotton and Brandon Grant. While little has been released about either man, it said that Cotton was known to Phoebe, and that he was also visiting the owner of the Dickey Beach residence at the time of the shooting. Both Cotton and Grant have been arrested and are now facing murder charges in connection with Phoebe's death. At the time of this recording, investigators have not offered any concrete information pointing to a possible motive behind the shooting, other than to say that they do not believe it was the result of domestic violence. Some reports we came across stated that Phoebe was facing criminal charges for a drug-related incident in December of 2021 at the time of her death. However, it's unknown what, if any, connection this has to the case. At the time of this recording, an investigation is still underway.
Authorities in Thailand's Chonburi province say that they are searching for a suspect behind a terrifying arson case this week after a woman burned down her boyfriend's house after allegedly becoming frustrated that she couldn't find him there. The incident began at around 12:30 a.m. on May 27th when 33-year-old Perchat Yongpanya was at home with her 2 daughters in Bang LAMUNG district. The 3 of them were fast asleep until they were woken by a female suspect whose name has not been released. According to Perchat, the woman entered their home unannounced and carrying a bottle of gasoline and began calling out for her boyfriend. The man was a frequent guest at Perchat's home because they were friends, but on this particular day he had not come to visit. Evidently enraged because she could not find her boyfriend, the woman proceeded to pour the gasoline she had brought with her inside the house before setting it on fire and running away. Though Perchat and her 2 daughters were thankfully able to escape their burning house physically unharmed, unfortunately, by the time firefighters arrived at the scene and extinguished the blaze, most of their home had been destroyed. At the time of this recording, police say that they are searching for the female suspect, who will reportedly be facing arson as well as other charges once caught. While it's believed that the case was prompted by a domestic dispute between the suspect and her boyfriend, it remains unclear why the woman decided to take out her frustrations on Perchat's house.
Authorities in Paris, France, say that a 36-year-old man has been arrested this week after he threw cake and attempted to smear icing on one of the world's most famous paintings. The incident took place sometime on May 29th at the city's famous Louvre Museum. For those unfamiliar, the museum is home to some of the world's best-known works of art, including the subject of today's story, Leonardo da Vinci's The Mona Lisa. According to reports, in the middle of what was an otherwise normal Sunday at the museum, the 36-year-old suspect, whose name has not yet been released, disguised himself as a wheelchair-bound elderly woman, blending in with other guests who had come to see the Mona Lisa. It wasn't clear that he was up to anything until it was too late, when, to the shock of dozens of onlookers, he launched himself out of the wheelchair and ran towards the painting with a cake in his hands. Understandably, like most of the priceless works in the Louvre, the Mona Lisa is protected by bulletproof glass for just such occasions, leaving the 36-year-old to helplessly punch at the painting's case, as well as throw his cake and smear its icing on the glass while the artwork remained undamaged. Still, it apparently took roughly 15 seconds before security actually realized what was going on and hauled the man off. As he was being taken away, the man reportedly yelled, quote, "There are people who are destroying the earth. Think about it. Artists tell you, think of the earth. That's why I did this." According to reports, the man was earlier seen throwing roses around the gallery as well. While the 36-year-old was arrested following the incident, he was sent to a police psychiatric unit after it was suspected that he was suffering from mental health issues. Authorities say that they are currently conducting an investigation into the damage of cultural artifacts, though it's unclear what, if any, charges the man will be facing.
Authorities in the South African province of Gauteng say that they're investigating the tragic deaths of 3 people this week after a father allegedly poisoned his own children. According to reports, the incident began sometime on the morning of May 26th when the father, who has not been identified by name, was left at home with his 5 children after his wife went to work. At some point while the kids were in the midst of their morning routines, their father gave them an energy drink before sending them off to school. Authorities now say that those drinks were spiked with rat poison. Everything seemed fine until later that morning, when out of nowhere 4 of the kids became abruptly ill during class. Teachers and staff did what they could to try and help out the kids, but unfortunately had no idea that they had ingested the powerful poison. Sadly, 3 of the 4 children would later die as a result of the toxic energy drinks. They have since been identified as 16-year-old Lelogonolo Kwabane, 13-year-old Katleo Kobane, and 6-year-old Tabogo Nyakwane. The 4th sibling that was poisoned is reportedly still fighting for his life in a local hospital, while the 5th child did not drink the energy drink given to them. When investigators realized that all of the poisoned children were members of the same family, they quickly turned their attention to the father. After hearing that police were onto him, the man reportedly tried to take his own life by overdosing on pills and stabbing himself with a piece of glass. However, he was unsuccessful. He was unconscious when authorities found him and was taken to a nearby hospital where he is being kept under constant guard. He has since been charged with multiple counts of murder and attempted murder in connection with the case. Despite the seemingly calculated nature of the crime, neither family members nor investigators have been able to come up with an apparent motive behind the poisoning. Those that knew the man said that he seemed normal in the days leading up to the murders, and that as far as they were aware, there were no disputes between the family members. According to reports, the father has since stated that he also does not know why he did what he did, and had claimed that he didn't know what he was doing. At the time of this recording, the tragic case is still under investigation.
If you're a regular viewer of our Crimes of the Week International series, then you might remember that earlier this year, we brought you the story of an infamous Colombian drug trafficker named Juan Castro Estupiñán, better known by the nickname Matamba. A high-ranking member of the Gulf Clan, which is said to currently be Colombia's largest drug cartel, Matamba had been arrested in 2021 and was facing extradition to the US before managing to break out of the La Picota prison in Bogota in the early morning hours of March 18th. Well, breakout may be a bit of an overstatement, as if you recall in our last report, he was more or less able to walk right out of his cell and bypass a number of prison checkpoints before leaving the facility altogether. Matamba was able to do this thanks mostly to a guard that he had reportedly paid to help him escape, though there were also allegations of widespread corruption at the prison as well. In the wake of the drug trafficker's disappearance, the guard who helped him was arrested, and more than 50 others at the facility were suspended. However, at the time of our last report, authorities were no closer to recapturing Matamba. Well, this week, a major update in the case was released, when authorities in the country announced that the wanted drug trafficker was now dead. He was killed during a joint operation between the Jungle Commandos, the Anti-Narcotics Police, the Attorney General's Office, and the United States Drug Enforcement Agency. According to reports, the operation was launched sometime before 7 a.m. on May 26th, when Matamba was tracked to a small farm property in the town of Bolivar, in the department of Santander. When authorities stormed the property, Matamba reportedly confronted them with a rifle, firing at officers and throwing a grenade at them before being shot and killed himself. It's unclear if police were initially aware that the man that they had killed was in fact Matamba, as he had apparently grown a beard and gotten braces and hair extensions, all in an effort to change his appearance. In any case, a successful positive identification was made shortly after the violent confrontation came to an end. In a statement this week, officials said that they have now been able to determine Matamba's movements since he escaped from prison in March. After fleeing the facility, he had initially gone south, though this was apparently to throw investigators off of his trail. Upon returning to Bogotá, Matamba had traveled to a region in the department of Antioquia known as Magdalena Medio, where he met with other high-ranking members of the Gulf clan. This was apparently to guarantee his safety within the organization, with the long-term plan being to return to his former drug territory. However, at some point, it appears this plan changed, and instead, after 2 months, Matamba began to go on the move again, ending up in the town of Bolivar, where he was eventually found. Officials say that this was only supposed to be a temporary hideout, and that within a few days, he was planning to board a helicopter to Venezuela. The trip was supposedly timed to coincide with events surrounding the upcoming Colombian presidential election, when Matamba and his associates evidently believed that most law enforcement attention would be focused on securing these election-related events. However, what Matamba apparently didn't know was that he had been betrayed by a Venezuelan fortune teller with whom he had been in frequent contact with following his escape. According to reports, it's not uncommon for drug traffickers to consult so-called witches and fortune tellers, believing it will help them to avoid the authorities. In this case, though, it definitely backfired, as the fortune teller was reportedly the one who passed the most valuable information about Matamba's location to police. Despite news that Matamba is now dead, theories and rumors apparently abound about the case. Because the high-ranking cartel member was known for paying off members of the Colombian military, there are some who have theorized that he was purposely killed instead of captured in order to prevent him from naming names. However, these reports are obviously unconfirmed. At the time of this recording, the situation is still developing, and new information about the case appears to be coming out daily. That brings us to the end of this edition of Crimes of the Week International. If you're a fan of the new series, don't forget to tell us in the comments section below. While you're there, make sure to subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest videos. Thank you for watching.